Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Quiz Bowl Happy Hour inaugural podcast. I'm Lewis, and today our podcasters will be interviewing what we believe are the top 25 teams in the nation for the upcoming season. Each team will be asked a few questions about anything ranging from team structure, strengths and weaknesses, strategies, and many more. There will be a transcript to go along with each interview, and timestamps will be made for the start of each interview. We hope you enjoy our podcast. And the first team up is Miami Valley A.
Hello, my name is Amoko Carney from Wayzata High School, and I will be interviewing the teams from 25 through 21. 25th, we have Miami Valley A from Dayton, Ohio. Miami Valley A was considered to be one of the strongest teams this year and a likely national contender, but unfortunately, the coronavirus did not allow us to see how they would have performed at the national tournaments. They finished tied for the third best team in the nation last year. We're here with William Groger, a rising senior at Miami Valley. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm William Groger.
You guys plan on filling the holes left by the graduation of John John?
So John was our history, science, FA, and geo player. I think we'll be splitting up most of his categories. So I'll probably take up most of history. Then like FA, I'll probably end up taking visual fine arts with AFA being split up among the team. Then geo will also probably be split up, and science will probably each take one subcategory and just work from there.
And what are you personally planning to do now that John John has graduated?
I really don't know what my involvement will look like next year. I probably won't be traveling as much since traveling tournaments were much more fun with someone to go with. I just don't really see the point in going if I'm going to be soloing all those.
You've already proven yourself to be a strong generalist, but which other members in your club do you think might join you on the A team next year?
So we actually played our full A team this year once on Blast, and other than John, everyone else stayed. So we'll probably have Lakshmi Jain, Sahir Kabir, and Andrew Holdzinger returning to the team, with Sean Kalan coming up from the middle school for a 5-player roster.
This past year, Miami Valley played extremely well at both NAQT and MACF tournaments. What format do you think will suit you guys better next year, and why?
So category-wise, I think we will probably be better at MACF with John being our history and geo player. Obviously, he's not here anymore, so that'll be a pretty big hole to fill. I was like the lit player for the last couple of years, so that is indicative of better MACF performances. However, I think the short questions from NAQT might actually help our playstyle. So category-wise, probably MACF, but playstyle, I think we're better suited to NAQT.
Okay, thank you so much for coming out, and all the best luck for next season. 24th, East Chapel Hill, North Carolina. East Chapel was extremely strong regionally and on the various online tournaments held this year. Led by Benjamin McAvoy Bickford and Bo Chi, East Chapel has secured itself a spot on our national rankings for this coming year. Today we are joined with Benjamin, a rising junior at East Chapel. If you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Alright, hello, my name is Benjamin McAvoy Bickford. I'm a rising junior at East Chapel Hill and the president of the Quiz Bowl Club.
Parts of the canon do you and Bo cover?
So we're both basically generalists. Bo's main focus is science, but he also does ancient history and is branching out into poetry and some other bits of literature. And my main focus is geography, religion, and mythology, I guess, but I really kind of cover all of the canon to varying extents.
Are there any players that you know of from Smith Middle School who could potentially help fill your team's holes?
One of our holes is fine arts, and we're getting a player from Smith called Krishna Rajagopal. He is very good at fine arts. The other players from Smith we're getting are Xin Cheng and somebody else, Eric Fang, I think his name is, if I have that right. Might be wrong, but I'll have to check that later. And we may be getting somebody called Srinath Iyer, who would also be a rising freshman from Smith, but he's not quite sure what school he's going to yet. So yeah, they could help us fill our holes. I'd say our biggest holes are fine arts, philosophy, and like pop culture. At this point, though, those seem to change very rapidly.
And as a very young team, what are your goals in the near future, and do you have any goals for 2022?
Our first goal in the near future is just that our school somehow lets clubs function at least normally enough that we can recruit some people or have even an electronic club fair, because if we can't recruit any people except the Smith one, that's bad for the continued longevity of the program. I guess our playing goal is to win all the tournaments in North Carolina. I don't really know what our goal is at Nationals. I think some team members may have their own individual goals, but I don't really know of any.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great season. Ranked 23rd, we have Buffalo Grove A from Illinois. Buffalo Grove A were not widely considered to be a national team last year. However, with the addition of freshman Rohan Ganeshan and the further commitment of Justin Whitmore to the team, we feel that they will be a top 25 team next year. We are joined today by Rohan and Justin. If you two would like to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm a rising senior going to Buffalo Grove.
Hi, I'm Rohan Ganeshan. I'm the new freshman for Buffalo Grove A.
Rohan was obviously one of the best, if not the best, middle school players this past year. How does the addition of Rohan complement your guys' team?
I think that it's pretty clear that Rohan is an amazing generalist, but he's also a really deep literature and geography specialist. Also has some pretty good fine arts knowledge. So I think that his deep knowledge of literature will help advance sort of my more history proficiency and make us a more balanced team.
Yeah, my hope is with the addition of me, we get good lockdown on literature. And what seems to be good is that we both like studying fine arts, but our knowledge blends a lot, which could result in a lockdown of fine arts if we really go for it this year. So it seems that Justin and I have a clear split of categories, and I'm willing to take on some science this year. So I think we can cover most of the canon, maybe leaving out a couple of things. But it shouldn't harm us like a huge amount unless it gets to like, again, facing top 25 teams.
Justin, you've attended many NHBB tournaments in the past. Do you guys plan on playing NHBB together? And if so, how do you think you'll perform?
We have talked about doing NHBB together a little, but I don't think we ever came to a final decision of what we were going to do, especially since with COVID, it's so unclear what NHBB is going to be like next year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the Northern Illinois Regional this year due to the ILMEA Music Festival for our district. So I think it's kind of difficult to gauge how well we do since I didn't really have a chance to play the other varsity teams this year. But I guess we're hoping for the best if we do end up playing.
Yeah, so we haven't really discussed much about it. We wanted to go with Quizbowl, but if we ever did NHBB, I think Justin would probably be like the leading scorer by a decent amount, but I would try and get that, 1-1 humanities, maybe some historical geo, some random history knowledge with geography knowledge that could complement it a little bit. But like Justin would be definitely the high score on the NHBB team. I would just be there for some assistance. So we haven't talked about it much, but we could do it if that happens.
And Illinois is known to consistently be a very competitive circuit with teams such as Stevenson and University Lab. So how do you guys expect to fare next year, both regionally and nationally?
In terms of Illinois, some of the people on the ILQB Discord were sort of talking about this subject in the past, and I think someone said that maybe we could be considered as a top 3 team in Illinois, which I think is maybe giving us a little too much credit. One thing that I think it's important to consider is that just within our sectional is Stevenson, Fremden, Barrington. So getting to IHSA State is going to be super tough, even with the added prowess of Rohan coming in.
Yeah, the sectional is known to be very notorious. We hope that we can like pull a couple upsets here in Illinois, just make ourselves well known, and then really push our way forward to nationals and just give everything we've got. Again, coming in as the underdogs is actually in our favor in this case, so we don't feel as much pressure going in against these larger teams. So we just do what we do best, and we hope for the best and see if our packet comes our way.
I think it's also probably worth mentioning that I've had in the past, I've had a lot of trouble with getting BG's administration to sign us up for nationals in the first place. It would be really disappointing if we couldn't go, but I wouldn't bank on us attending. We were registered for PACE this year. They wouldn't let us go to just NCT, which is something I'm hoping we can work on next year. But It's not
Yeah,
guaranteed.
we hope maybe like our team parents could sign us for a couple of tournaments. We want to play as much experience as we can with the sets this year before going to nationals, because that's what's going to get us prepared in the first place. So I think if we get that experience as much as possible, I think we'll be prepared enough for nationals whenever it comes our way. We'll give it our all.
Thank you so much for coming out, and all the best luck for next season. Ranked 22nd, we have Mounds A from Arden Hills, Minnesota. Mounds A broke out these last 2 years as a top team nationally under generalist Shardul Rao, a rising senior at Mounds U. Today, we are joined with Shardul to talk about their predicted performance next year. Shardul, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hey, I'm Shardul. I'm going to be a senior at Mounds U next year.
With the graduation of history and current events player Aryan Segal, who do you think will be Mounds U's fourth A-team member?
I'm not really sure of that so far. I've been talking to Maxwell Yi, who is also a rising senior, and we've been looking at a couple people who we think could fit in well. There's one person who primarily specializes in history with a bit of other stuff, like certain philosophy that he likes. And there are other people. There's a player who likes fine arts and literature. And I think what we'll end up doing is we'll do not officially tryouts, but some sort of, we're going to observe people during practices and see what they buzz on and see what they want to study. And based on that, we'll try stuff out at tournaments during the year and figure out who fits best.
RMPSS and geography/current events are potentially holes for your team next year. How do you plan to fill them?
Well, I guess geography and current events, that's something that I'm more into, so I'm planning on doing a little bit of that. I don't know how well we'll transition from Aryan to me, because Aryan was pretty interested in current events, so he performed well in it. And RMPSS, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to split that up. There's a person, like I mentioned, who is interested in philosophy, so if he ends up being on A team, then that's one less area of RMPSS that I have to worry about. But I'm thinking of studying a bit of religion and social science. How much, I'm not sure, but that's currently the plan.
Obviously, you're not the only player on Mounds U, with both Maxwell Yi and Paul Wang putting up solid stats on your team. However, they have little experience playing national tournaments. Could you talk a little bit about what categories they play and how you think they'll perform at the national tournaments next year?
Yeah, so Maxwell is a science player, and he went to HSNCT last year, which was his first trip to HSNCT. But I think since then he's improved a whole lot, and even since the beginning of the year, if you look at his performance on weight, for example, and I think if you look at some of his stats on regs level stuff at the beginning of the year, next season, I think you'll see that he's improved a lot. Just practicing with him, I can tell that he's changed his studying style from what I understand, and it's working out very well for him. So I'm excited to play with him because it's really fun, and science is something that I'm personally interested in, so it's fun to have someone who's good at that on the team because we fit well together, I think. And similarly, Paul, he's another one of my friends, and he primarily does audio fine arts at the moment. And I'm not sure exactly how we're going to split up the rest of fine arts, but I would say Paul's, from what I've seen of him, I would consider him one of the best auditory players in the country, mostly because he has really a very good lockdown on classical music. He enjoys listening to it a lot. He likes music history, and he likes learning about music, and I think that goes a long way, especially in Quiz Bowl, because that's what a lot of higher difficulty music is. So it's really fun to play with those two. I think, especially at the Nationals difficulty, they'll perform really well, and hopefully we can show that next year.
And with Wayzata and Eden Prairie both losing some strong players this coming year, how do you see yourself doing on the local circuit?
I think we're going to do pretty well. I think, as it has been the last couple of years, it'll be pretty undisputed that the top two teams in the state will be us and Wayzata. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be on Wayzata A, but what I presume is that it'll be Amog, Brianna, and CC Xiao, and someone else. Most probably a science player, but who knows? And I think because we only lose one person, whereas Wayzata graduates Brian and Ben, and a couple of other really solid seniors. I think that'll be good for us because I guess there's not much we have to change as a team and like cohesion and things like that. So I think it's going to continue to be Moundsview and Wayzata as the top two teams in the region. And I don't know how Eden Prairie is going to perform. I can see them being third, or I can see them being fourth to Wayzata B. But I think it'll be pretty similar to this year. And hopefully we get the upper hand on Wayzata this year.
Thank you for joining us today, and good luck next season. Ranked 21st, we have Lambert A from Suwannee, Georgia. Lambert A had a great performance this year under the lead scorer and generalist Adi Karthik, a rising junior. We are joined by Adi today to talk a bit about how he thinks his team will perform this coming year. Adi, if you would like to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Adi Karthik, and I am the lead scorer of Lambert from Georgia.
Especially online, Lambert seems to be a solo performance from you, but who do you think will be supplementing you for next year?
So online, I play mostly solo, but in person, there are two people in particular who will play a large part in the team next year. That is Vishal Saradi, who may best be known for being a top tier geography player and someone who's placed third at a GOB, not GOB. And right now, he's more of a geography specialist, but he's started branching out into history, biology, and trash, and should be a key part of our scoring next year. Our other core member is Justin Kim. He is a really, really good history specialist who was our second scorer for much of last year. And now with some osmosis of other subjects, he has managed to start becoming a 40-50 PPG player who is useful for about 3 to 4 powers a game, which is a lot of help.
And what categories do you think that you cover best?
So, as a generalist, I cover mostly literature, history, science, and auditory fine arts. But I definitely say that I'm stronger at science and auditory fine arts than the other two.
And you have shown tremendous individual skill at the regs level this year. How well do you think you scale up to NATS level questions, and how do you see your performance at HSNCT and or PACE next year?
So the main problem with our team is that aside from Vishal, who is a pretty much lock on geography in a lot of cases, and Justin, who is really good at history, especially European history, we don't really have kind of locks on subjects. So it might be a little bit harder for us to scale up because I go from a very good player at the regs level to not as good of a player at the nats level, though I'm still able to put up powers. So yeah, basically, I think that our team could definitely make a run next year at either HSNCT or PACE. If we go to PACE, it'll probably be a team that is me soloing or something like that. But our full team will be at HSNCT, and I really expect us to do pretty well, what with the extra geography.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today, and all the best luck for next season.
Hi, I'm Justin from Thomas Jefferson, and I'll be interviewing teams ranked from 20th to 16th. Ranked 20th, we have Thomas Jefferson Science and Tech B from Alexandria, Virginia. Although TJB did not play full this year, they still did very well at HFT, finishing as a 27th ranked team in the nation this year. We're here is Pratush, a rising junior at TJ. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, I'm Pratush. I'm a rising junior.
TJ is known for the deep bench and many teams. As TJ's teams next year are very volatile and bound to change, what is your guess on the B team next year? What does everyone cover? Will these teams be different on MACF or NAQT?
So probably Elliot Lee, this current sophomore, will be our history player. Kevin Zhang will be our literature and social science player. And Vance will be our fine arts player. For science, I'll probably be on the B team for MACF. And I may be on the A team for NAQT, depending on circumstances.
Thanks. Do you see any rising talent within the class of 2023 or even 2024?
So we have a lot of good freshmen this year, such as Elliot Lee, the freshman, who's a really good literature player and also knows a bit of history. And we also have lots of good, solid history players like Keenan Powell and Daniel Lian. And we also have Brian Lai, who's becoming a very good science player.
Okay, thanks. Are you better on MACF or NAQT? What categories are you guys better at?
I would say we're better at MACF just because the distro favors philosophy and social science as well as fine arts, both of which are specialties of Kevin and Vance respectively. Though I think myself, I'm a better player at NACIT since I cover geography, science, and current events.
All right, nice. Thanks for coming. Good luck in your circuit next year. Ranked 19th, we have Detroit Country Day A from Bloomfield Township, Michigan. Detroit Country Day finished as the 49th ranked team in the nation this year. DCDS broke out this year with a strong performance on sets such as HFT and Weight. We're here with Zaid and Daniel, both rising seniors at DCDS. If you could introduce yourselves, please.
All right, I'm Zad Siddiqui. I'm a senior. I'm going to be a senior next year on DCDA.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I'm also going to be a senior next year on DCDA.
DCDSA is a team that nearly retains everyone this year. Will the A team stay the same?
Yeah, so it should be for the most part the same next year. For next year, the main team we're gonna look out for is B team because we don't really have a set lineup for B team. So there's gonna be a lot of changes coming next year for B team, but A team's gonna stay the same.
Yeah.
Speaking about your B team, some members of your B team are showing some rapid improvement. How good do you think they will be next year?
I think they could be top 50 nationally next year, or perhaps even a lot better than that because they're improving quite rapidly. And as a sort of projection, I think that would be a reasonable prediction for where they'd end up at the end of next year.
Yeah, because like our B team, like honestly, coming into quarantine, they weren't nearly as good as they are now. Like they started studying insanely hard after quarantine, and if they keep this up, they're definitely gonna get really far.
Although your stats are very good, which categories do you think you guys are stronger on, and which categories do you think you're weaker on? How are you going to take care of filling in your weaker categories?
All right, so Kyle, sorry. Okay. I
okay.
think our strongest categories are current events, which is Daniel's strength on NAQT. He's destroyed the current events, and then literature, and then Adam's really good in fine arts, and then Daniel, you can pick up.
All right, and then there's some categories that we're good at, but not necessarily elite at. Like for example, science, which is split between Adam and Zad, and history, which is mostly mine. Social science, which is also mostly mine, and then myth, which is mostly Zad, but also contributed to by Maria. And then there's some categories that we need to improve on as a team, like philosophy, religion, and geography. And as for how we plan to improve, we mostly plan to just like study and practice using like carding basically and taking notes, and that's mainly our improvement plan.
Yeah, like for religion specifically, we're mostly just like not good at Judaism and Christianity questions. Other than that, I think we mostly passed the whole up. So yeah, we're just gonna probably split it between us four and just group study it or something.
All right, we appreciate you coming out to talk. Best luck in your season next year. Ranked 18th, we have Ladu A from St. Louis, Missouri. Ladu was a very solid team this season, putting impressive stats online and in person, especially on SET D2 and HFT. Ladu finished as the 35th ranked team in the nation this year. We're here with Lewis, a rising senior at Ladu. If you could introduce yourself, please.
I'm Lewis Lee, captain of Ladu A Quiz Bowl team, and my main subjects are literature and history.
Although Ladu doesn't seem to graduate anyone, you guys seem to play varying A teams. Can you give us a quick rundown of your roster? Who covers what?
Okay, so there's me, and I do mainly history, literature, and I'm like trying to pick up some RMPSS. There's our second scorer, Eric Yin, who's mostly a science player that also covers fine arts quite well, and he's also trying to pick up RMPSS. And then we have Jason Xu, who's our music player that sometimes can get science, especially physics. And then we have 2 rising sophomores who we're trying to decide who's going to become the 4th player. And that would be Max Yang, who mostly covers Geo very well, and Yuvan Charlie, who is a myth player.
Does your team have any holes or categories that you guys are weaker on? Do you anticipate a player on your non-A team to cover these holes, or do you have a rising freshman to cover them, or are you guys going to try to split the cannon up with your current roster?
So I would say that if we're looking at our team from this year, our main weaknesses would be like Geo, RMPSS, Fine Arts, and some portions of the Lit Canon. And if Max Yang were to make the A team, he would cover our Geo hole very nice. But I think most of like covering the holes is gonna like just come from more studying over the summer and picking up RMPSS, which I think we're already making progress on as of right now.
Are you guys a toss-up or bonus team, or in the middle? Next year, do you guys anticipate this to change?
Well, I think if we were to look at just powers versus bonus, like as they do at Groger ranks, we definitely have more powers compared to our PPB. So like our PPB would be like a few points lower than the other teams with comparable power numbers, and I'd say that's mostly gonna stay the same. I do think our PPB is going to rise, but personally, I think our power rate's gonna rise with that, and I just think overall toss-ups are like a better way to win games than bonuses, and like higher bonus conversion is just like a side effect of studying for toss-ups.
Alright, that's all. Thank you for coming and good luck next year. Ranked 17th, we have Stanton College Prep from Jacksonville, Florida. Stanton dominated their circuit this year, winning most, if not all, of the tournaments in their area. Their performances on in-person and online tournaments such as IS 190 and Weight were very impressive. They finished as the 33rd ranked team in the nation this year. Or here is Joel, a rising junior at Stanton. If you could introduce yourself, please.
So my name is Joel Vallon. I'm from Stanton College Prep in Jacksonville, Florida.
As Stanton College Prep has really only popped up as a strong team this season, could you give us a quick rundown of your roster and what each player covers?
I am Joe Vallon. I cover science and social science. Aaron Dantzler covers fine arts and philosophy. Binya Malaro covers history. And our captain, Soham Mehra, covers literature and religion.
Stanton College Prep has done really well on many reg sets this year, beating strong teams such as Wayzata, TJ, and Arcadia. You guys did put a strong performance on blast, but overall, how do you guys think you scale to Nationals difficulty? If not well, how will you guys work on improving your scaling?
So this is actually a discussion we've had over the past few weeks of how we're going to scale to Natch. I think as a team right now, we're pretty well balanced and we can do really well at either Natch. But I think that something that's really important, especially at HSNCT, is covering a lot of the smaller categories, which we're trying to do this summer.
Do you guys expect any rising players to join your team next year?
No, we do not. I am a rising junior and the other 3 are rising seniors. So we'll be together for 1 more year.
All right. Finally, although SCP has mainly been playing NAQT sets during the year, you guys seem to have played a lot of MACF during the coronavirus outbreak. Are you guys better on MACF or NAQT?
Okay, so as a team, we're better on MACF than NAQT. I know Aaron Dantzler, because he's a fine arts player, benefits a lot from the usual MACF distribution of fine arts. So he personally likes MACF better. Binya Malaro, our history player, likes NAQT a lot better. But I think that our stats show as a team, we usually do a lot better in terms of points per bonuses and powers on MACF than NAQT.
All right. Thanks for your input. Best of luck next season. Ranked 16th, we have East Brunswick A from Middlesex County, New Jersey. East Brunswick did quite well this year, putting up impressive in-person numbers on sets like Callisto and beating other strong contenders in their circuit, finishing as the 23rd ranked team in the nation this year. We're here with Lillian, a rising junior at East Brunswick, and Josh, a rising senior at East Brunswick. If you could introduce yourselves, please.
Hey, I'm Lillian, and I'm going to be a junior next year.
I'm Josh. I'm going to be a senior. I'm also one of the captains of East Brunswick's team for next year.
East Brunswick seemed to have graduated a couple players, namely Powerhouse Jackson Lee. How do you guys plan to fill the hole left by the graduation by a lot of your A team from last year?
We plan to study a lot.
And aside from that, we have 3 freshmen who are going to be sophomores coming in, which is really helpful.
Right, and although Jackson was a really good side player from last year, and to replace him, we have Chinmay, who's also studying science, and I guess somewhat to a lesser degree, me and Amitav, who are both decent at science, although we're mainly generalists.
Okay, so your feeder school, at least talking about Amitav, your feeder school, Churchill, had a fantastic performance at James Blair Bowl, namely Amitav. Do you know what Amitav covers, and is there a possibility that he may take a spot on the A team?
So Almatov is a generalist, and there is certainly a possibility he takes a spot in the A team, but I think we should clarify that Churchill is our junior high, and they actually don't have a Quiz Bowl program, so it's just an anomaly that we have 3 freshmen who are really, really passionate about Quiz Bowl, and that's good for us, but Churchill can't exactly be considered a feeder school.
I see. Thanks for the information. Okay, finally, does your team have any holes or any categories that you guys are weaker on? If so, how will you split the canon or have a player cover it?
We have limited trash coverage, geo coverage, FA coverage, and RMPSS coverage. So right now, one of our players, Anikit, is trying to cover trash and RMPSS. And then Amitav, Tanuj, Lillian, and I are trying to cover our FA holes as well.
Along with Myth.
All right, that's about it. Thank you for your time. We wish you the best of luck in the upcoming season.
I'm Pratuj from Thomas Jefferson High School in Alexandria, Virginia, and I'll be interviewing teams ranked from 15 to 11. Ranked 15, we have Montgomery Blair A from Silver Spring, Maryland. While Montgomery Blair didn't play as a full team much this year, their HFT stats were impressive and they had the second highest PPV of the field, higher than teams such as TJ and Mannheim. Today, we are joined by Albert and Leela, both rising juniors from Montgomery Blair. If you guys could introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Leela. I'm a rising junior, like you said, and I specialize in history and also some science.
Hello, I'm Albert. I also specialize in history, and I'm also a rising junior. And I think we're both going to be captains next year.
This year, a lot of your A team members graduate, including Catherine, Sean, and Matthew, but your roster is still very deep. Who will likely be on the A team next year, and what will they cover?
Definitely Chris Tong, because he's going to be a big science player now that Kat is gone. And then Jason Liu is a fine arts player. He's probably going to be on A team. And then I'm a history boyo, so I think I might be on A team. And then remaining, I think Leela has a strongest chance of being on A team as well, because she can be a generalist and knows some lit.
Do you guys see any rising stars in the class of 2022 or 2023 that could possibly be on your B team?
Yeah, Caleb Zhao, who's a rising sophomore, he came in last year already being quite good because he'd done middle school science bowl and he did science bowl last year. So he's a pretty strong science player. He has a lot of general knowledge, so he's a really strong contender next year. That sticks out to me the most.
We have some other underclassmen as well. Will and Harry are 2 other incoming sophomores, and they're both history players, but they grind a lot. So I feel like we might be able to see them on B team as well. And they go to a lot of competitions and stuff. In terms of other rising...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to mention Henry Wren. He's in our grade. He's a rising junior. He also studies quite a bit. He just got way better last year. He wasn't bad in the beginning, but he studied and worked really hard, and I would not be surprised if he was grinding this summer and came back a really good contender next year.
As a strong team in a very competitive DMV circuit next year, what categories do you think you guys need to work on? How will you do this?
Our Achilles heel is probably literature.
Yeah.
We don't have any literature players, so that's probably something all of us need to work on. I think most other categories are pretty safe for us. I think if we keep working on our specialties, then the other stuff shouldn't be too much trouble if we study hard. So like definitely history. We have like infinite history overlap coverage, but also we have good science players and fine arts players. So I think literature is just going to be the only
Yeah.
thing we need to work on in general.
Completely agree with Albert. It's hard to find motivation when all of us have different specialties, but really that's the gap we need to fill.
Thank you for your time and good luck next year. Rank 14th, we have Arcadia A from Arcadia, California. Arcadia quickly became a national caliber team, even beating Westview A, who was ranked 14th this year. With lit and history-based generalist Amog and strong support in Ryan, the two sophomores have become a scary duo. Today, we are joined by Ryan Sun, a rising junior from Arcadia. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sun. I'm a rising junior at Arcadia High School.
As a fairly young team, what is your lineup and what categories do you cover best? What categories do you think you have some holes in?
So our current A team lineup for next year will be a Moog, who's a history and lit-based generalist. Me, I know some history, some literature, and some VFA. Brian Lamb, who's like our science player, and he focuses mainly on biology. And Michael Kwok, who mainly does history and trash, but he can get buzzes in like random categories. We're definitely the best at history and literature, but we're quite weak in like RMPS's auditory fine arts and a good portion of science.
For some of your weak points, what is your plan to patch up some holes?
Yeah, so our team definitely has a lot of holes going into next year, mainly in science, fine arts, and RMPSS. So me and Amog are sort of just going down frequency lists and either taking notes or carding the different topics. And we're making progress pretty fast. So I think by like the first tournament next season, we should have at least improved a little.
At the moment, you and Amog are the main scorers on your team. Is there anyone you see next year picking up a subcategory or two?
I really can't be certain about like who studies what on the team for next year, but I think that Brian Lamb is like branching out into non-biology science subcategories. But then other than that, I'm not really sure. So we'll just have to see next year.
As the only team from SoCal here today, how strong is your circuit? And will you go to NorCal next year?
So despite not having like any other teams in the rankings, I still think that SoCal is going to be like decently strong next year because there's a ton of sleeper teams. From the top of my head right now, I think there's Santa Monica and Del Norte. So for Santa Monica, Josh Shu is like a really good history and geo specialist, and I think he's going to have like more competent teammates next year. So I'm sort of excited to see how they'll perform next year. And for Del Norte, they're keeping science and history specialist Joshua Yu. And besides that, they also have like a really deep bench, and their feeder middle school is pretty good. So I'm pretty sure they'll also be good next year. And for NorCal, I don't think we're going to go there next year because we aren't exactly a rich team, and I don't think going to like a normal Quiz Bowl tournament justifies going to NorCal. But it's not entirely out of consideration. Like maybe if like we're like really lucky, we might.
Thank you for your time and good luck next year. Ranked 13th, we have Wayzata A from Plymouth, Minnesota. Wayzata A continued to show their excellence this year and was still the top team in the Minnesota circuit, even after the loss of top science player Jeffrey Chen and the emergence of Mounds View as a national caliber team. Today, we are joined by Amol Kulkarni, a rising senior from Wayzata. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Amol Kulkarni.
You guys were a very strong team this year, but the graduation of Brian and Ben left some holes for you to cover. How do you plan to do this?
Well, first with Brian, he was our A team's history specialist. As we got later into the year, I was moved up to the A team and our history skills complemented each other. So with Brian gone, I should hopefully cover some of the history holes he left behind. Time was also a very good generalist. He could cover a lot of fine arts and RMPSS. So I am trying to explore more of the area of RMPSS, and I know the Shao twins, Brianna and Cece, are doing a lot more fine arts. And for Ben, he was our A-team science player. And to cover that hole, I've been studying some chemistry and a little bit of cell biology, and whoever our science player for next year, our A-team is going to be, will help cover in those holes as well.
This year, you guys traveled to Illinois to play ACF Fall. Do you guys plan to travel out of state again in the future? And if so, where?
Provided the coronavirus doesn't persist for too long, we will probably head out of state for at least one tournament this coming year. Some potential options are ACF Fall once again, and possibly Dart, which would the main side of Dart in Michigan, are two tournaments we have our eye on. But those details will be more finalized once we know exactly what tournaments will be held in this coming year.
For a circuit dominated by NAQT tournaments, you guys are a very formidable team on MACF sets as well. How do you guys prep for NAQT stuff versus MACF? And what will most likely be your preferred question type next year?
For NAQT sets, our preparation mainly consists of consistent packets so we can get used to the format of NAQT questions, as well as practicing common topics in NAQT such as geography and current events and comp math. MACF obviously is a little bit more fine arts and RMPSS based, so that's where players such as myself and the twins come in handy. I do think that next year we will be a little bit better on MACF. We have traditionally been better on NAQT just because Minnesota has been such a hotbed of NAQT tournaments. But I think next year, because I play RMPSS pretty well, and the Twins do fine arts really well, and we don't really have a finalized geography/current events player next year at the moment, it looks like we'll be doing better on MACF next year.
Thank you for your time, and good luck in the upcoming season. Ranked 12th, we have Stevenson A from Lincolnshire, Illinois. Stevenson A continue to show their prowess in the tough Illinois circuit, captained by history player Govind. Even without Govind, their stats at HFT show that they will continue to be a strong team. Today, we are joined by Arjun, a rising senior from Stevenson. If you could introduce yourself, please.
So my name is Arjun. Like you said, I'm going to be a senior next year at Stevenson. I guess I've been playing since middle school, and I was on the A team this year, and hopefully I'm on the A team next year. I'm mainly like a U.S. history and current events player.
Obviously, Stevenson this year had powerhouse Govind. After losing top-tier NAQT player Govind, how will you compensate for his loss?
Well, I don't think we're gonna ever be able to completely recover, since Govind was like pretty dominant in history, geography, and even like religion mythology to like a degree that it's very hard to make up after just 1 year. But I think what mainly we'll do is we'll try to like work in the categories we're already strong in. So Daniel, for example, will probably become better literature player. David focus on science, and I'll focus on history, and hopefully it works out in the end.
You guys definitely have a deep bench with high-placing B and C teams. At this point, what kind of player are you looking to promote in terms of what they cover? And what are some interesting players to look out for?
So I don't think the A team is like settled, but our fourth player will probably be Billy Braddock because his strengths in visual fine arts, philosophy, trash, and current events like basically with their holds and are like helpful at both pace and HSNCT. I guess like for our B team, it's gonna be pretty strong next year because Anmol is a pretty solid science player. He powered science over Uni A and also history over Uni A, and Anisha's like a really good literature player also. We have some pretty good freshmen, so I think our B team will also be pretty good next year.
What are your goals for nationals? Do you think you are better suited to NAQT or PACE?
I think that this year we were definitely better for NQT just because of Kelvin's really good coverage of history, geography, current events, also random animal science knowledge and stuff. But next year, I'm not sure we'll be particularly better over one rather than the other. If I had to say one, I'd say NEQT just because I'm better at current events than we are at like some of the categories like philosophy or social science. But I think in the end we'll be pretty similar both. I think I don't know what our teams think is, but I'd like to be like top 15 at both nationals. I don't know if that's likely or not, but that's a goal.
Thank you for your time and good luck in the upcoming season. Ranked 11th, we have Belmont A from Belmont, Massachusetts. Belmont came out of nowhere this year with strong performances in the New England circuit, including their win at Callisto against Phillips Academy, and they finished 40th as the 40th ranked team in the nation this year. Today, we have Nathan and Seyoung, both rising seniors at Belmont. If you guys could introduce yourselves, please.
Yeah, I'm Nathan. I'm, as you said, a rising senior at Belmont.
Hello, my name is Seyoung Jang.
Okay. As a relatively young program that graduates NOAA next year, what do you think will be your lineup?
We're planning on, barring unforeseen circumstances, keeping the same A-team lineup as this year. So it'll be me, Seyoung, and then Cindy and Kirill.
Other than your top tier performances in the New England circuit, you did very well at Blast Online. What are your goals for next year and how do you plan to achieve them?
We want to do our best to become a consistent nationally competitive team, which we'll attempt to do by filling in a lot of holes we currently have as a team, category-wise and skill-wise. And although Phillips will likely be the dominant team in the circuit next year, we hope to be able to challenge them a few times, and we hope to take advantage of the fact that everyone on the team is willing to work hard and really does enjoy the categories they have. And just most importantly, we just wish to have fun and just keep playing Quiz Bowl.
So, what categories do you think your team covers the best? And are there any that you think need some improvement?
Probably our best category as a team now is literature, because Cindy's become a very good literature player and I can do some support as well. And then fine arts has always been a strength because Seyoung has some very deep, especially auditory arts knowledge. And then I guess also religion, pretty good at religion. Kirill covers that very well. Science and history are both areas that we're somewhat subpar in. We're hoping to fix that at least a little bit going forward. And then our biggest weak points are like current events, geography, pop culture, where we get completely destroyed at most levels. Hopefully that will change somewhat going forward, but for the time being.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you for
not
having us
particularly.
on.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us and good luck next season.
So, hi, I am Josh Rubel. I am a rising junior at the Green Hill School in Dallas, Texas, and I'm interviewing the 10th ranked teams through the 6th ranked teams.
So, ranked 10th, we have Chattahoochee High School in Chattahoochee, Georgia. And Hooch was a national contender from the start of this year after their third place finish on HSNT. Performed really well throughout the entirety of the season, including sets like Logic and Blast. And this year they finished 19th in the nation on Gerger ranks. And today we're going to meet with Jason, a player on Chattahoochee. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jason. I am the captain and president of the Chattahoochee Quiz Bowl team. I will be a rising senior next year.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you. And so y'all really bounced back after losing all of the team that got third at HSNTT. So how much of the team do you retain this time around?
So most of it. Our sole graduating senior this year was Foster Michaels. He was our history, geo, and current events player. Like Adi said in the Preseason poll podcast from the Gerger Rank site, majority of our A team this year consisted of juniors. As of now, our A team will most likely be me on literature, fine arts, and somewhat of a humanities generalist, Jennifer Joe on science, and then Dhruv Anand and Ishan Kulkarni both on history. Dhruv generalizes and is strong in myth and trash, while Ishan has a lot of deep visual arts knowledge. Other than that, we have Rahul, Akshay, Yusuf, our other rising seniors, as well as some of our younger players who can easily rotate between A and B team. For the most part, Geo will be our biggest hole since Foster covered that really well in the past. But otherwise, we still have a fairly young team and a solid program, so we can still nurture new players.
So as you were saying that, so which set distro would you say you benefit from playing more on, either NAQT or MACF?
Right. So just about everyone on our team will most likely say they prefer MACF over NAQT. We're actually in the process of writing our own house rate to be really similar to Blast because we really enjoyed that set as opposed to other NAQT sets. And this year we played significantly more MACF tournaments. A lot of us, myself included, are not huge fans of the NAQT distribution. However, historically, NAQT has been better for us. At HSNTT last year, A team got third, while B team pulled a 32nd place finish off of numerous upsets. In my opinion, NAQT allows for more of these upset games where every victory says more about the individual game and the gameplay than the team's overall stats. So, for example, we could play a good game and beat a good team without having the most powers on an NAQT tournament. But tournaments like PACE more closely align with Groger rankings because they base those off of stats, right? So our stats, in my opinion, are quite frankly mediocre. Our power rates and bonus conversion tend to be a little lower than a lot of the top teams we played this year, which is why I personally think we would do better at an NAQT set like HSNCT. However, I think we plan to try to get better over the summer, so maybe there'll be a difference in the future.
And my last question is, other than you guys, and then as you were saying earlier, Lambert with Audi, who are some other solid teams next year in the Georgia circuit?
So my best bet would have to be maybe Walton, Northview, Johns Creek, North Gwinnett, or Chambly. A lot of the stronger teams in the Georgia circuit this year graduate many players, so it's kind of hard to say what next year will look like. Also, sometimes teams get overshadowed by us and Lambert on a national level, so people don't always know about these schools. But for the most part, the ones I named are notably good schools in Georgia with historically strong teams in the past and with some younger solid players as well. I think Hooch B and maybe C have a lot of potential as well from what I've seen from their growth this year. I do want to point out that sometimes it only takes a single super strong, super motivated young player like Adi from Lambert or Sanjeev from Cambridge, formerly Hooch, to really put a team on the map, which is another reason why I think we can't really accurately predict the strength of the teams in our circuit for the future. But these are my takes, though.
Okay, thanks so much for coming out to our podcast, and good luck next season.
So, ranked 9th, we have St. Mark's School of Texas A from Dallas, Texas. And St. Mark's is a really strong team this year, both online and in person, putting up top-tier stats on sets like HFT, IS-190, Blast, and many others. And they finished as the 25th ranked team in the nation this year. We're here with Ned and Ayush, two rising seniors at St. Mark's, to talk about the upcoming season. And could both of you guys introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Ayush. I'm a rising senior at St. Mark's School of Texas, as Josh said. I am the history, geography, and current events player on our A team right now, and I'm working on studying fine arts as well.
Hi, I'm Ned. I am a literature, religion, mythology, philosophy, and social science player.
All right, so our first question is, you guys lose your top fine arts and science player, Nick Cerny, this year, and how are you guys going to cover for his absence?
So losing Cerny is obviously going to be a very big deal for us, both in that he covered fine arts and science both extremely well, especially auditory fine arts, but I think that he leaves behind a strong legacy, both in the flashcards that he kind of left us. He left a pretty big treasure trove of information there that I'm currently working on going through, but also the fact that we have a lot of great young science players, both on our B team right now and on our middle school team as well. So we have players like Mickey, who was on our B team last year and put up top tier stats at basically every local tournament, and it was, I think, top 10 in every local tournament in PPG. So I think that while it's going to be hard to lose a player who scored a significant portion of our points and who is also our captain for the majority of the year, I think that we have the sufficient talent to make up that gap and that we can come back just as strong, if not even stronger, next year.
Okay, speaking of your middle schoolers, they really impressed this year on sets like raft and weight. And are any of them going to come to the A team next year?
So the answer to that is we don't really know, because obviously our coach chooses the A team, and we don't really. I guess it just depends on how they do in practice. I think there's a very good chance that one of them Will, I think there's a few middle schoolers who have put up stats that have made me think that they could maybe do it. I know Varden is a science-based generalist, which would definitely be helpful for us. And he did very well on whatever the most recent middle school tournament
Carolina
was.
Cup.
Carolina Cup, that's right.
I beat him.
And then also Aditi has been good for a while, and we've been practicing with him. He has some deep fine arts knowledge, which could help us. Soham is a bit of a wild card. Haven't played him in a long time. Don't really know what his categories are. I think he's good at geography, but he did really, really well in weight, and came to one of our practices and got just like a lot of points in random things. So, I would be very unsurprised if one of these players made it onto the A team.
Okay, and our last question is, so basically, are you guys better on which format of Quiz Bowl, as you two are both like very strong in different parts of the distro?
I think it depends from like when I've been looking at the distributions, because I think we're going to be a lot better on IS sets than MACF sets next year, which is good because that's what TQBA runs. But then I think case we might actually be slightly stronger at than HSNCT, because pace really emphasizes RMPSS, which I'm good at, and HSNCT really emphasizes a lot more science, which we're assuming for now is going to be one of our weak points, although hopefully that is not the case. But yeah, I think on IS, I think IU's is going to do really well with the current events in geography. But then once we get to HSNCT and there's not the comp math that the package just scratch out, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for us to play NEQT.
Okay, yeah, and that wraps up your interview for today. Thanks for your time. So, ranked 8th, we have the Tag Magnet Gifted and Talented School from Dallas, Texas. And at the end of the year, Tag Magnet really came on as a strong school towards the end of the year in lots of online tournaments and winning IS 192 St. Mark's Invitational. And they also won a lot of online tournaments such as James Blair Bowl, Weight, and many more. And today I'm here with Jisoo. He's a rising senior at Tag Magnet. So could you just introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jisoo. Like Josh said, I'm a rising senior. Started playing Quiz Bowl in sophomore year, and I'm happy to be here.
So our first question for y'all is, you guys went from not being a contender in the Dallas circuit to being a top tier team nationally, winning a lot of online events, as I said. How'd you guys improve so fast in such a short amount of time?
Well, I'd say it started with just a lot of, Proto Bowl, just to get a feel for the already established canon, and Keaton's only one of us who's played Quiz Bowl before, like sophomore year, so he really, I guess, showed us the basics on how to study and stuff. And right after, after doing all that Proto Bowl, we got into carding a bit. We started with applications like, Quizlet, easy and free, but eventually I think all of the A team at least is on using Anki now. Another big help was we got a coach, Dr. Graham Mindel. He was looking for a team to coach after last year, and one of our team members, Cross, went up to him and invited him to coach for Tag. And this year he started helping us out, and with his resources and guidance, I think that's also helped us improve a lot. But all in all, I think like to win in Quiz Bowl, it's up to the team to want to get better and win. And I think all of us at least have enough passion for that, for the game. So I think that's pretty much it.
All right, so like, what are your guys' weakest categories that you think you need to improve on for next year?
Out of the big three, at least, I'd say it's history, especially since it takes up a really good, big portion of the NAQT and MACF distributions. Lots of Quiz Bowl players at least that I've seen on the higher levels, have like a history bowl background or something of that sort, and so are pretty proficient in history, but Tag never participated in that kind of event, so I'd say we're pretty weak in that field. But Jake, our main history player, has been studying hard at the end of this season, and we're looking forward to it showing once the next season commences.
All right, so my last question is, you guys upped your powers a ton in the end of the regular season, going from like 5 or 6 a game to like almost 10 a game on some sets, but that also caused your negging to go up to almost like 3 negs a game sometimes. Are you guys going to take a different like strategy to shrink that next year for nationals?
We'll definitely have to. The negging is a problem that makes us lose games really closely that we probably could have won if we were just careful enough. But I'd say because we're a relatively new team, as in whether we're a contender or not on any circuit, and we've only been playing as a competent team together for maybe half a year. I think as we get used to, playing together and game sense, and the game sense develops for each one of us, we'll just get used to not negging more. I guess we've been kind of experimenting, and that's mostly the reason behind it. But Keaton also thought of a way to, put a little stakes on it, and basically every time we neg over a certain threshold, we'll owe the rest of our team some amount of money, and that's just for fun. But it might incentivize us to be more careful and waiting on stuff and not jumping in. So
Yeah.
we'll implement something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. That wraps up your interview, and good luck next season.
So ranked 7th, we have Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, and Phillips Academy was a really strong team this year, and they were in the top 10 overall in Groger ranks, and they put up some really good stats on sets like weight and other sets in the Massachusetts area. And today I'm here with Karsten. He is a rising junior at Phillips Academy. Could you just introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Karsten. I use he, him, his pronouns. I am currently going into next year the president and captain of Phillips Academy Quiz Bowl, which is wild. Yeah.
All right, so my first question is, you guys lose your really good science player, Vincent, this year. How are you going to manage to fill the holes left by him and also losing Aurora on RMPSS?
So that will be definitely difficult. One thing I guess about this last year that people did not know, but Max Tao was also a really, really excellent science player who did put up a lot of points, specifically on weight. He 60 pointed one game on just science, which was wild to see. So we're definitely going to miss them, but we do have a lot of freshmen who are ambitious and who are excited to learn and who are hopefully carting up a storm at this very moment. To fill that hole, I'm hoping, and this may be a bit overly optimistic, but that they may be able to scale to at least pick up most of the EFT answer lines at the end. Because that was one thing that Vincent and Max were just really helpful for. Like, I don't know if we would have done as well in that set if they had not been there, because, in fact, we definitely wouldn't have, because there was a lot of the science answer lines that I don't think I would have been able to pull. As for RMPSS, Aurora was really good, specifically on Christianity, and specifically on the philosophy side of things. I did a lot of the religion and mythology for us this year, like other religions, and mythology this year. So I feel like we were sort of double coveraging that, but I definitely do plan on working a little bit harder to learn some more things about philosophy, about social science, and just deepening the religion and myth sense of it all. Just to like cover that the best they can. But yeah, the freshmen should cover science. LaSalle, who has played on our B team, is good at physics, and he'll be filling that hole. I'm taking a fairly high level biology class, so I'm hoping maybe I'll become good at that by the end of the summer or over the year. So yeah, lots of options.
Okay, and then my other question is, what are your guys' goals for next year?
I mean, win nationals. Of course. I think that while it might be difficult, it's feasible. But we just have to sort of push together as a team to get to be the best that we can, to shine at national level. So for me, sort of my biggest goal is to get to where I am at literature and history, fine arts, and RMPSS. I think that's the right number of S's. Just because I feel like if I could pretty much like be like, I don't want to say absolutely locked down because there's always going to be somebody who can get like a question off of you, but as close to lockdown as possible in the humanities, then then my teammates should be able to compliment me in a bunch of areas and hopefully push us through to that giant trophy, which probably is not as tall as I am, which is an eternal regret of mine. Yeah, I would love to do that. More long term, I would say that we are a young team next year because we will only have one senior, which makes me feel good because even if maybe next year we don't win Nats, which would be absolutely horrifying, I don't know if I would ever recover. No, I'm kidding. I'd survive. But then we would be able to get to know each other a little bit better as players and as a team going into the next year, my senior year, which is a huge push for me, hopefully, in studying. Just to, I don't know. I would like to leave high school with like the top Nats trophy. I think most quiz bowlers who do high school quiz bowl would, but I don't know. That feels like it would be somewhat of a culminating experience. So I do hope that sort of comes to fruition. But even if it doesn't happen next year, yeah, it's sort of playing the long game in that sense.
Yeah, all right. So those are the questions for our interview. Thank you so much, and we hope you enjoyed, and good luck next year. All right, so ranked 6th, we have Stanford Online High School A, and SOHS put out stellar performances in their circuit, beating other strong California teams, even shorthanded. SOHS finishes the 11th ranked team this year, and we have Karan here, a rising senior at Stanford Online. If you could introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Hey, I'm Karan. Like Josh said, I'm a rising senior at Stanford Online. I play mostly science and fine arts.
All right, so with Josh Rowland graduating, do you know who will fill out the rest of the team after you and Shiva?
We are hoping to pull some new talented players from the underclassmen. We have a few people who've played in tournaments this year, and I think a few new students who are joining Stanford Online High School. They will hopefully fill out the team roster.
Okay, and are you guys gonna designate a lit player or take a tag team approach similar to something like Strike Jesuit A this year?
I mean, it's not yet decided, but right now the way things are looking, we're probably going to be having maybe 2 players splitting the literature category.
Yeah, and other than you and Shiva, what are the category distributions you'd say for the rest of the people?
I mean, it's not decided yet. The rest of the people who would be comprising the team haven't read. Right now, the way things are looking, we're probably going to be having maybe 2 players splitting the literature category.
Yeah, and other than you and Shiva, what are the category distributions you'd say for the rest of the people?
I mean, it's not decided yet. The rest of the people who would be comprising the team haven't really specialized yet. We'd probably decide this kind of stuff at the beginning of the year. Given the coronavirus pandemic, there really is no rush.
Yeah, okay, so that's the end of my questions. So thanks for participating, and best of luck next year.
Hi, I'm Rohan Venkateswaran, formerly from WestU in San Diego, and I'll be interviewing teams ranked from 5 to 1.
At number 5, we have Beaver Creek High School from Ohio. After winning the 2019 HSNCT, Beaver Creek came back with a strong performance despite graduating Hari Parameshwaran, its leading scorer. Today we are joined by Abby and Tiffany from Beaver Creek. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Tiffany Joe. I am a rising senior and I go to Beaver Creek High School.
Hi, I'm Abby Cohen. I'm also a rising senior, and I obviously also go to Beaver Creek High School.
Beaver Creek proved itself as a team this year after the loss of Hari. After this, what are your goals for next year?
So we have obviously kind of the general goal of we all want to improve as players. We want to improve as a team together. We also, since our team is currently 3 rising seniors and 2 rising juniors, so we definitely want to make sure that Beaver Creek's program stays strong into 2022 and hopefully even beyond that. Abby, do you want to cover the other ones?
You really covered everything I was going to say. There's also a lot of pressure, I suppose, to do well in HSNCT 2021, both outside of our own program and within our own program. I think we're hoping to do really well there. If not, win again, place pretty high. That would be awesome.
All right, what categories do you feel the strongest in as a team, and what would you want to put more work into?
I think as a team, even though we lost Hari in history, our new captain, Tegan, is a phenomenal history player, and we're very strong in history, and Tiffany and Alan are very good science players. I feel like if I let Tiffany talk, she would be like, oh, well, we're really strong in lit, and science and fine arts aren't great because she's a science and fine art player, and I'm a lit player. But I feel like we have a long way to go in literature. I haven't studied a while, but I'm just really proud of all of our players who are not literature players because they are very good.
Abby won't say it. She is a very solid literature player, easily one of the top literature players in the nation. She's not going to flex, so I'll do it for her. As she said, history is definitely one of our strongest categories because of our Captain Tegan, an amazing player. Science is covered by me and our teammate Alan. I think we're definitely very solid at lower levels, and we're very solid HS Regs Plus, maybe a little beyond that. I'm not entirely sure how well we can scale up, especially towards a Nats or like easy college level, but that's definitely something that we're going to be striving to improve on. I think fine arts is another category we're very solid in. I am a visual fine arts player. I'm also an auditory fine arts player, like especially, but kind of a fine arts player in general. And then Tegan's generalism is also very helpful. As for categories that we're a bit weaker in, because so we have like the big three plus fine arts like kind of fairly clearly split between us. RMPSS ends up being a weird mixture of generalism or like just random things that we end up figuring out ourselves.
Yeah,
so as
whoever
we don't really have a dedicated specifically RMPSS player, but I think our coverage there is still pretty solid, but that's definitely somewhere that we could improve on, especially for a distribution like Pace, which will emphasize that more.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the atmosphere around Beaver Creek as a team? Are you more laid back, more serious, or somewhere in between?
We actually had a list going when you first sent us the questions. We had a list going of the stupidest things we as a team have done. We are very laid back, I would say, in terms of team dynamic. We all yell at each other a lot. We're all friends is probably the most important part.
Yeah, we're all very close.
Yes.
We can definitely get serious for games, like once they start, but like in between games or like before and after tournaments, we're always messing around or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would imagine that being closer as a team would allow you to communicate better most of the time and often help you in Quiz Bowl. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck in the season next year. At number 4, we have Thomas Jefferson Science and Technology A from Virginia. TJ has always been a perennial powerhouse, winning PACE 2018 and 2019. We're joined by Justin Chen from TJ. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, I'm Justin. I'm a rising junior at TJ. I'm a humanities player who mainly does literature and RMPSS.
You graduate most of your A team from last year, but promote strong players from your B and C teams. Given your deep bench, do you expect your lineups to differ for each distribution format?
So yeah, I think our teams will differ for each distribution format because on MACF, obviously, I think it's mainly going to be our science players that differ. On MACF, Stefan is a much better choice because he scales very well, and the more aggressive format of Pace is better for Stefan as he is a player with a pretty high neg rate. While on NAQT, Pratouche or Pratt is a better player due to the distribution favoring more current events and geography, which Pratouche is very good at.
It seems as though many of the TJ kids, especially Stefan, you, Elliot, and Pratouche, have gotten good really quickly. Could you perhaps shed light on how that was able to happen?
So, I think one theory I have about that is kind of since our 2019 team graduated, which was obviously a very good team, like almost a unanimous first pick and like kind of like not just a contender, but like I guess like
They
like
did win NSC.
yeah, but like the team that everyone thought, and they did win. Like I guess there was kind of a hole this year, and I guess at least what I thought was like I had to like fill in like kind of the hole left by our very strong A team. I'm not sure if this is what my teammates thought, but this is just something what I thought about. At least for me as a literature player, basically I just like kind of went on a pretty big carding grind and just kind of spent a lot of time carding, reading books, and generally just like reading packet studying for literature. And I think it's been going pretty well. I know for like Pratt and Stefan, they've been like also carding for some of them, and or like reading textbooks or packet studying.
Since you do have different lineups projected for NAQT and MACF, do you think one will be stronger than the other?
So yeah, I think we'll be stronger on MACF due to the distribution. MACF has a 1-1 mythology and 1-1 religion, and I'd say our mythology player Anurag almost has a solid lock on mythology, while me and Vishal also do mythology. And also on religion, Vishal and Anurag are very good at religion. So basically, that distribution heavily favors us. And plus, although we aren't as aggressive as like most other teams, I think the Pace NSE format will still help us.
Would you like to elaborate on what Vishal and Anurag cover?
Yeah, sure. So Anurag is a history specialist who also covers mythology, religion, and generally has very deep pockets in like random categories. While Vishal is a fine arts player who also knows a lot of bio, chem, and RM.
Thank you so much for participating in this, and best of luck in the next year. At number 3, we have Richard Montgomery High School from Maryland. After putting in great performances on sets such as IS 186 and Blast Online, they proved that they're a really good team this year. We are joined by Danesh and Abhinav from Richard Montgomery. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. I'm Abhinav Karthikeyan. I am a senior at Richard Montgomery High School. I'm one of the captains on the team, and I'm a humanities generalist, but mainly specializing in history, literature, and geography.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Dinesh. I specialize in science. I'm a junior, well, rising senior, and I also like fine arts, but specifically I like audio fine arts. I am also team comical support.
All right, what would you guys say your biggest strengths and weaknesses are as a team next year?
Definitely, I think the big three will be our strengths this year. Dinesh has really improved in science over the past few months, and me and Justin form a really good duo in history and lit. Probably our biggest weaknesses is how much we'll be able to like really get depth on fine arts as well as some aspects of mythology. Those will definitely be our weaknesses next year.
Yeah, adding on to Abhinav, fine arts is definitely, we have a depth issue with fine arts at the moment. This is not to say that we're necessarily bad at fine arts, but it's more that we need to have more deep knowledge in areas such as audio fine arts and visual fine arts to be able to convert at higher levels like Nats. And then, yeah, as Abhinav mentioned, mythology. Justin is an extremely good mythology player, and he also can get buzzes in, as Abhinav said, like we have history, literature, and RMPSS. Abhinav and Justin do very, very, very well. Science is coming along. I'm okay. There's still a lot of much better, much more strong science specialists who have much deeper knowledge, but I'm definitely going to be trying to study to patch some holes that I have. So currently, as for like specifics, I'm the best at physics. My bio knowledge is kind of lacking, and chemistry is somewhere in the middle. And math and comp sci are also one of my favorites if you are willing to count those. But yeah, I think we'll be good.
All right, how does your coverage differ from NAQT and MACF?
So with NAQT distributions, there's more history and humanities based things. So Abhinav and Justin can lock down a lot of buzzes there. They're very, very strong players on NAQT. And MACF is also similar. It's not as history heavy, but we still get stuff. There's more science, so that's good too. I tend to prefer MACF science to NAQT science just because there's less stock clues, and I just feel that it tests more real knowledge, more actual knowledge. So I tend to prefer the science in those distributions, but the NAQT, we got Abhinav and Justin, who are very, very, very strong on the literature side, and MACF is also pretty well. If Abhinav wants to add anything to that.
Yes, I definitely think we'll be a stronger NAQT team because I'm really good at Geo and current events, and Justin and I cover a lot of the NACD spaces really well. And with our coming fourth player also knows trash, and he adds on to like the whole like NACD randomness. So I think we'll definitely be a better NACD team next year, but we're still really good on MACF. I feel like our weaknesses kind of play into why we're a better NACD team than MACF, but definitely we're still a top caliber MACF team that can beat anyone on the distribution.
You mentioned an incoming fourth player. Who do you plan to replace Derek with, and what will they cover?
Yeah, so Derek was kind of a history RMP player and visual arts, but we'll be replacing him with Gus Carvel, who really became a generalist last year, but this year he's targeting to be more of a specialist within poetry, some parts of the lit distribution, and fine arts as well. So he's going to be our fourth player, and I feel like he's going to complement us really well as provide additional backup on history and literature.
All right, so just to add on to Abhinav, so the science player isn't technically finalized. So the other science player hasn't really gotten a lot of recognition because he's a lot quieter and not very active on Discord. Kyle Liao, also a rising senior, is also a very, very strong science player with very deep knowledge in biology, and he is also studying. So there is definitely a possibility that he could also be our science player for next year. So everyone should also be on the lookout for Kyle, because I know he's very quiet, so a lot of people don't really know about him. He's on the down low, but Kyle is very strong and should not be underestimated or slept on. So
he could still be our like science player or our fourth player. So.
Yeah, he could be our science player or our fourth player. So he's definitely someone to look out for. And
but it's most likely probably going to be Gus.
Yeah.
From what I've been able to see, the Richard Montgomery kids seem to be really close to each other. Do you think that helps your Quiz Bowl performance?
Yeah, it's definitely chill and lighthearted, and it really helps like on bonus conversion as well, because we're able to like articulate thoughts really well, and like there's like certain chemistry and synergy that we have within our team, and it just makes Quiz Bowl not just like Quiz Bowl, but it also like fun and a social opportunity which we all enjoy.
Yeah, that's pretty similar to what I got from the Beaver Creek team when I interviewed them. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'd like to thank Derek and Michael for like helping us get to this stage, and hopefully Nats occurs next year, and we'll work our hardest to try to win Nats.
All right, thank you so much, and best of luck next year. Ranked second, we have Mission San Jose High School from Fremont, California. Mission San Jose put up some great performances, especially on IS 188, HFT, and EFT, where Avinash Iyer played solo. Although we don't have Avinash with us here today, we do have Karan from Stanford Online, who has played them at many tournaments this year and in previous years. What are your opinions of Mission San Jose after playing them at virtually every tournament of the season?
Well, I think Mission San Jose is a very strong team and definitely a national contender, if not, the candidate to win next year. But I think it really depends on how driven Avinash is to, continue his study grind. And Avinash has stated multiple times publicly on Discord that he is not actively studying due to the coronavirus pandemic, and that he doesn't have much confidence in the Quiz Bowl season being substantial next year. So I'm not sure if he will continue to improve at the drastic rate we've seen him improve during the 2019-2020 season. I think even if he doesn't actively keep up studying, he's still, penalty kicking everywhere, and he's definitely a force to be reckoned with for the next season.
From what you know, in what areas do his teammates help him the most?
I don't know very much about Avinash's teammates, and honestly, I don't think they're very helpful to him. I think none of them studies quite on the same level that Avinash does. Parikshit Krishna, who I believe is going to be a sophomore next year at Mission San Jose, probably provides some literature and mythology support. I've heard that he reads a lot of books, but I think the most tangible way in which Avinash's teammates support him is that they stop him from falling into some of the pitfalls associated with solo players. They kind of help reduce his variability and make sure he doesn't mess up easy parts on bonuses.
What areas would you say Avinash is best in?
I think that's a very difficult question because Avinash has studied all over the board since his last in-person performance. I think Avinash currently is probably best in history and literature, but he's also improving at science and at RMPSS. And I think across the board, he's one of the strongest players in any category.
Lastly, he said that he and potentially Mission San Jose are planning to attend both HSNCT and PACE NSC next year. Where would you say that they're probably going to perform better based on their strengths and weaknesses?
I think Avinash is a player who's very strongly grounded in the modified ACF canon. He performs strongly on literature, and I see no reason why he won't continue to improve at RMPSS. And I think that those will help him on the pace distribution. But I think his team is also strong on NAQT. He does have a background in History B and History Bowl, and I doubt that he's or his team are bad at geography. And depending on whether the pace set is well written or not, if it tries to be experimental and overshoots its difficulty, Avinash may be somewhat equal between HSNCT and pace or much better at pace. But I think in general he's better at modified ACF than at NAQT.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Finally, ranked first, we have Hunter A from New York. Hunter put up incredible performances this year, including on EFT, which was a college-level set. With their full A team, they were able to go nearly undefeated in their circuit, finishing as the top-ranked team in the nation. We have some people from Hunter A with us today. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Well, I'm Ben, and I'm a junior.
I'm Cerulean, I'm also a junior.
I'm Pedro, and I'm a junior.
Now, Hunter has seemingly always been regarded as a top team nationally, and this year was no different. How do you manage to consistently get people to perform so well in Quiz Bowl?
So I mean, like as a club, we don't really like specifically say, you should study this, you should study that. I mean, I think a big reason that we do well is I think a lot of us are sort of motivated and we learn a lot of stuff, on our own and when we're writing for Prison Bowl. Like, for example, like I read the newspaper not because I want to do well at Quiz Bowl, but, if I see something that I'll think, oh, maybe that'll come up in a current events toss-up or whatever, and, I'll make a mental note of that, or just like browsing Wikipedia. So, like, we don't really like actively encourage people to study, but I think in our club, like, there's a lot of self-motivation. I mean, a few people that I know of card, I know Andrew does, and I guess it's worked really well. It's probably not a bad idea considering how good he's got, how quickly, but we don't like sort of actively say, you should card X, Y, and Z.
That makes sense, especially when you do things not specifically for Quiz Bowl and they end up helping you. I feel like that's sometimes even more rewarding than something where you're carding and then it comes up. I understand that Asher was the only senior on the past A team, and I understand that Andrew will be brought in to replace him. So what's the situation going to be like with that, with the holes that the loss of Asher might result in, but the more coverage that Andrew will bring?
Well, Asher is primarily a generalist. He is not a generalist in the sense that he can consistently get a 10 in every single category, 3 or 4 lines in. But he's a generalist in the sense that he has spikes of deep knowledge in all categories. One day it might be a toss-up on biology. Another day it might be a toss-up on linguistics. Another day it might be a toss-up on history. You never know what you'll get, and I think that what we'll lose from him is that ability to pull deep pockets of knowledge from seemingly nowhere. especially at higher difficulties. At EFT, our scoring was generally even. It was a team made up of Asher, Cerulean, Ben, and me. He was our top scorer and outpowered the rest of the team. Some of those powers were amazing to see, and it's that ability that we'll lose.
I think we'll go more in depth to this when we discuss our categories, but probably the biggest loss would be in certain areas of science, just because now we really only have Ben to cover that, when before we had two people. And it's also just like really nice to have Asher with all of his random bits of knowledge, but I don't think it'll hurt us too much because Andrew is also really good, and I think we'll have a very strong team for next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is sort of cheesy, but like he really gets buzzes out of like on the weirdest things out of like absolutely nowhere, and that's really useful sometimes. Well, it's useful a lot of the time actually, just because no matter what, you think he may pull a buzz out of nowhere, and obviously that helps.
Since Cerulean did mention it, how do you plan to split the distribution next year?
So I mainly cover history, literature, and geography, but I can also just get random buzzes in other places and things that I happen to have read about.
So I guess I'm the only one that like really covers science. So I guess Cerulean and Pedro and Andrew get buzzes from time to time, but I mostly cover science, like audio, fine arts, geography, CE, and I guess sports.
Yeah, I am quite a narrow specialist. I focus mostly on history and current events. That's my bread and butter. I also have some knowledge of trash like soccer, movies, TV, etc. And sometimes I can pick up on buzzes on other categories except science. But generally, I tend to focus quite narrowly on history and current events.
And finally, Andrew is pretty much a humanities generalist who can get buzzes in everything except for science and trash, and sometimes he'll get stuff there too.
Yeah.
He's a really good history player and definitely the best lit player we have, so that will be very useful to back up our coverage.
Yeah, having multiple people covering the same categories on the team, very beneficial to teams in case to cover each other's holes within the specific subject in the distribution. Since Hunter has a large bench, a deep bench of people, including some previous MSNCT winners and a consistently good middle school team every year, how do you expect your B teams and further to do next year?
Sure, so I don't think our B team will, hopefully they won't upset the A team like they did a couple times this year, like they almost did, but the B team will definitely still be very strong. So and it'll have pretty good coverage in all of the categories as far as I can tell. So I think our ideal B team, we don't always have everyone come to every tournament. People are busy, but if everyone could, I think that would be Rachel as captain. And then Ian and Jacob, who you may know from their MSNCT championship. They're both very strong history players. And Daniel Schneider to round out science coverage. He's very good at biology and will be improving on the other sciences, I think. And Rachel is covers lit and myth very well. So I think that team will do very well next year. They won't have any major holes. At a tournament like Milburn Invitational, which we send a team of Jacob, Ian, Amanda, and Daniel Yin, who are two other Hunter players. They performed very well, pulling an upset against Livingston and nearly beating East Brunswick, which are two of the other great teams in the region, and that was only like a 50% of the B team. So I think they definitely have a shot at being one of the best teams in the region and possibly a strong team nationally as well.
All right, thank you so much to all three of you for coming out, and best of luck to all your teams in the next season.
This concludes our inaugural podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, we hope you enjoyed the podcast and learned something new about each team. If you have any feedback or suggestions on a future podcast, please contact us. You can reach us via qbhour@gmail.com. We wish everyone luck in the forthcoming season.